So let's go ahead and get started by making you aware of where this webinar series comes from. So California Department of Education has released guidance on AI. It's called Learning with AI, Learning About AI. And if you go to our website, which you'll see a bit.ly here, and you'll also see a QR code. Now, if you are listening, don't worry. All registrants to this session will receive an email with a copy of the slides, a link to the recording, and the resources as well. So certainly, don't worry, don't feel like you have to take a picture real quick. We will get that information to you. Also, I want to let you know that all of the previous recordings of our webinars are on this website as well. So there are links to that there also. I love how people are introducing themselves in the chat. We have Scott saying that Notebook LM is a favorite. I am enjoying that as well. Absolutely. And too many to have a favorite. Agreed, Mark. There are quite a few. So, all right. Welcome again to those that just joined us. I also want to let you know we have a resource kit that came out in April that is also available on our AI page, and you can download that as a PDF directly from the website. So, my colleague, Dr. Christina Mattis, and I organized these webinars for you, and we always have a question, an essential question that we want to consider and that our featured speakers will address and explore. This week, our question is, why is equity-minded instruction vital in an age of AI? And how might educators design learning to honor student identities? And so we are excited to explore that. My name, by the way, is Catherine Goyette. People call me Kat, and I am the Computer Science Coordinator at California Department of Education and also head up the AI initiatives. And I also get lots of input from my colleague, Dr. Christina Mattis, who is our EdTech and Digital Equity Broadband Coordinator. Wanted to quickly talk about a few things that are in the resource kit because we certainly believe in our AI guidance, as we state, that learning about AI aligns with computer science concepts. Those are computing systems, networks in the internet, data analysis, algorithms, and impacts of computing. And so our featured speakers today are well-versed in computer science and teach and coach teachers in that quite a bit. And so we certainly have a computer science lens in today's session. We also believe that integrating learning about AI promotes diversity and inclusion in STEM fields, helping to address systemic bias and expanding access for underrepresented groups. So we believe this is an anti-bias approach. And finally, we believe that AI learning integrated with computer science encourages student voice, problem-solving skills, and creativity, empowering them to design AI systems that solve real-world challenges. With that, I am going to introduce our fabulous speakers for today, both of whom are CSTA Equity Fellows, as has been the case for all of our speakers this month. It's been a particularly great month because of that. So we have Dr. Sharisa Chan and Tanya Coates with us today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing screen so that they can go ahead and introduce themselves and begin sharing some insights with us.
Thank you, Kat. While Tanya pulls up the slides again, I just wanted to say hi, everyone. I'm Sharisa Chan. I am the Associate Director for the Computer Science Equity Project at UCLA CynerX. I have an experience in teaching computer science, started as a first grade teacher and just fell in love with it, had students asking for more as I moved up the grade level, and then decided that I wanted to be a Lorax for computer science and AI and speak for this for K-12 education. So I kind of shifted through district and county, and now I'm at UCLA and really lucky because I get to work with Kat and Tanya in different aspects and collaborate with them and just brainstorm around all the great things for equitable computer science and AI practices. And I'll pass it over to my colleague Tanya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Coates. I'm a project specialist with San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. In my county, anything regarding digital learning, computer science, AI, I do facilitate PDs and information in regards to that. And I love, love, love my job. I love this field because as a child, I wasn't always seen in this role. And I feel like being involved with CS Equity is creating that change so girls and students that kind of look like me feel confident and successful in these fields. So thank you for having us today. Thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to start. All right. And let me go to present mode. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so our outcomes for today is we're going to explore what equity-minded instruction in computer science looks like. We're going to examine an AI tool to explore some possible biases and also engage in an activity about algorithmic bias. So with that, I would love to know in the chat, how are you feeling about AI? Right now, 1, if you're nervous or scared. 2, are you confused? 3, are you beginning to explore? 4, playing with AI, or 5, building with AI? All right, I see some 3s and a lot of 4s. Scott, you're building. Scott, I would love to know what you're building in the chat. That's awesome. Some 4s, some 3s. William, building. I love to see the people that are building. I want to know what you're building. That's great. A lot of 4s. Money and reflecting on its sustainability. I agree with that. That's a very good point. Okay, so we're all kind of at different levels, but I think everyone is beyond the nervous and scared part of AI. I think we all have come to the conclusion that AI is here. Now it's just about navigating AI and how that's going to look. Okay. I know that confused dog is like the best. I agree with that. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So I have an icebreaker activity. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to engage in an AI tool called Whisk. This is a tool by Google. It's one of their experimental tools. And you can follow along with me. It's Whisk. If you type Google Whisk, or Sharice, if you could put it in the chat so they could follow along, that would be great. And basically, it's a generative AI tool where you can create images, but it prompts you, so it's pretty simplistic on creating these type of images. So I'm going to actually navigate towards that website, and when you log on, you should see something that kind of looks like this. And in this tool, you actually have the options of doing a couple of things to create your prompts. You can actually enter in the text to describe what type of picture you would like to create, or you can upload an image. Now, me personally, I don't like uploading my images into these AI systems because we don't know how they're going to be used in the future. You don't know how long they're going to keep it for, but you do have that ability to do so. So what you do is you create a subject, a scene, and a style. So Sharisa, if you could you give me a subject that I could create?
Sure. So for a subject, I would love to see, I'm going to try to give it something a little difficult. I would like to see a toddler girl who is of Black and Asian descent.
All right, let's see what it does. So it should generate an image based on the prompts here in this subject. Let's see what it does. It's thinking, it's taking quite a bit of time. Wow, it says we couldn't generate what you asked for. Try a prompt in English or click on the FAQ icon for more information. Why do we, what's going on, Teresa? Why do you think that is? Like, what was wrong with our prompt?
I don't know, but I know it's not.
I have a guess.
Kind of, you have a guess?
Well, you remember the flap that Google had when they were generating, the generating images of the forefathers, and some of them had darker skin, and people lost their minds. So now I think they're being very cautious about representing ethnicities.
Interesting. That's a good take, Scott.
Definitely.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe we need to refine it, Teresa. Like maybe I don't know. Let's try something
So
else.
I was hoping to turn this little girl into a computer scientist toddler, because I have a toddler who's of Black and Asian descent. So I'm trying to find something that looks like her. But let's just go in with computer scientist.
Okay. Okay. See what it does. Okay. Well, it came up with something. The male with glasses on a computer. I mean, it's a computer scientist. Okay. What about a scene, Teresa?
Let's place this person in a classroom. Can we do a STEAM classroom? Sorry, I'm all about
In
STEAM education. Yes.
in a STEAM classroom. Let's see what it does.
The
Taking a
longer
bit of
it takes,
time.
the more
I
nervous
know.
I get that it's not going to find. Oh, well, it
And
didn't.
you're right. It did not. It wasn't able to do that. So how about I just put in a classroom? Let's see what it
Please,
does.
that'll work.
Maybe we're too specific. I don't know.
Classroom's got to work.
And while that's thinking, what type of style are we
It
thinking
can't
about?
generate classroom.
That's
Can you just try the word classroom by itself? Maybe the other words in front kind of trip it up a little bit.
yeah,
See what.
maybe. And then while that's generating, I'm going to actually do like the style. What kind of style would you like this on?
Let's go with anime.
Okay. Wow. Okay, got anime. I don't know what's going on with classroom.
Okay.
Let's,
Can we put library? I don't know.
all right.
By the way, I just want to note both the anime and the computer scientists are both males. It's kind
Yes,
of interesting.
kind of interesting. So
Mhm.
basically, what it did, you basically create these scenes, and I'm going to generate the image by combining all three, and let's see what it comes up with. Okay. I mean, it did the anime.
Mhm.
It did what they think a scientist should look like. Does anyone have any comments about this? What are you thinking? This wasn't exactly what we were thinking originally, but we're kind of stuck with this image. What does this say about tools, some of these AI tools? Have a good waiting time.
I think, Tanya, I think it's interesting that with some AI tools, the more details you give, the more that you can personalize it.
Hmm.
But to Scott's point, I wonder um, if they're being a little bit more, I mean, they say cautious, and yet what is that actually doing as far as people seeing themselves identified in these images? It's
Hmm.
interesting. I see some comments in the chat as well. So
Wow, it says my CEO sitting at a desk created a white male and an Asian male. Interesting. Kind of the same thing. Now you can, refine this. If I was to say, please use a woman, let's see what it does. It should be able to refine the results and possibly get closer to what you're actually looking for. But the fact that initially when we was specific about, creating maybe and look here, we're still getting, okay, this is a woman with a tie. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. But as you can see, the way some of these tools have been programmed, we don't know if they're actually utilizing, well, first of all, we don't know who's actually creating these algorithms to create these images. So their mindset is a little bit different, like than what I was thinking for sure. So this kind of stresses the importance of having a lot of different people in the room when creating these tools. Because we have a lot of diversity in our world, and actually utilizing different perspectives helps us get better results and outcomes in some of these tools. Teresa, do you have anything to add to that?
I just keep thinking about if I were a teacher in the classroom and ask my students to use a tool like this to create images for a story that they were writing or to represent something maybe that they're learning about in history, what might happen and how much would they have to refine? Like go back to that bottom bar that's down there on your screen and add in like, please use a woman or like make it a black woman or whatever the case may be. Like how many times would they have to prompt engineer to get the outcome that they want? And I also think of my own child and how like when the first prompt I asked for both she and I, that is something that's how we identify. And that I can't find that. Like I can't ask for a Black and Asian woman. It's not going to create it for me. So I see now we have some images. Thank you for adding that in, Tanya. But it's
Mm-hmm.
taking some steps, and that's okay because we didn't ask it up front. But we also learned that when we did, it kind of tripped the system up a little bit, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
please use English. And it's like, but I am speaking English and typing in English. So those are just my thoughts. It's really interesting. And I hope to see this refined a bit more as time goes on and we have more diverse voices impacting our AI tools.
Awesome. Scott, I have a quick question to your response. Does that help you get better images when you use the term ethically diverse in your prompts? I'm just curious.
Sometimes.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't know how to say this, it goes maybe kind of overboard where you might have Native Americans with, feathers on their head and this kind of thing, and it kind of tries too hard sometimes. But generally
Mhm.
speaking, it's better that way.
Okay. Yes. And I agree, Mark, with your comment in the chat. Just want to let you know. All right. So I'm going to move on from here. And let me look
Wait,
here really
wait,
quick.
which one?
The ones, let's see, the last one that you just put, the Alpha Lab project.
What I mean,
It's
I'm interested in knowing your experience and the comment previous to that.
previous one. Let me see. I agree with that. Yes. It's I don't know.
Kind of
And
gross.
it's scary because I feel like, is this how we're being perceived in society? Like, is this what people think when you ask for that? So again,
It did well with that actually.
it did. This one did do well, but
No, I mean,
oftentimes I do.
because I'm doing it here at my desk, and it gave me a reasonable image.
Okay. That's good to hear. I'm happy. And we eventually got something close to what we kind of wanted. All right. So I just want to talk briefly. I just want to talk about the different types of AI. And there's a reason why I want to. So there's generative AI. This is what we just used. This is like, tools that you can create new content, like for text, images, music, even videos like this one, Runway has uses. These type of tools are the most common right now in society, and I think they're the most captivating, and it is what is giving the AI the most buzz. But we also have other types of AI, such as reactive AI. Reactive AI responds to situations based on like the present moment. So if you see those self-driving cars and some of these chatbots that customer services are using, some of these type of AIs are used from past experiences that they're not necessarily like generating new content, but there actually been predefined rules to actually give you like simplistic answers on that. And the third type of AI I want to talk about is predictive AI. So this is using past data to make predictions about future events, such as like trends and patterns. Like maybe when we go to Google Maps and we want to estimate the time we want to get to a particular place, it's using previous trends and patterns to predict certain things. And I'm pretty sure when you go on Netflix or Spotify, when you're getting like these recommendations on different types of movies that you might want to see, this is using this past data to give you estimates of that. So I just wanted to explain the different types because this kind of comes into play when we're using some of these AI tools and some of the results that we're getting. So being equity minded in AI, basically AI is reflecting all the data that it's trained on. If the data is biased, the outcome can be biased too. So AI should enhance learning and not necessarily like reinforce in existing inequities. And a lot of times that's exactly what happens. First of all, we don't really have tools to verify that the AI is accurate unless we actually go do the research on our own. So sometimes we just take it for its word and it's not accurate information. And there's a lot of dangers when using some of these AI tools. The bias, like I said before, a lot of the data privacy risk. Have you guys actually looked at some of the data privacy agreements in some of these tools? Throw them in like a chat GPT and have it explain it to you as a fifth grader. It's amazing what they're collecting, what they're doing. And I don't think most people really understand that their data is basically gone. It's theirs to be used as however they want to use it. So just being mindful about looking at some of these data privacy agreements, all the misinformation, hallucinations that's going on, that's been going, that right there, like the hallucinations, like actually verifying that this data is actually correct, that's been a big problem. And this also the over reliance on AI. I have a question for all of you. How often do you just go to AI, even if you know the answer, but you still go to AI just to, I don't know, make it better, or just because you know you're just used to going and using AI tools? Raise your hand of basically like how reliant are you on AI now? And I'm gonna raise my hand too. I feel like sometimes I overuse it. I use it sometimes in emails. I want to refine the tone. I kind of feel sometimes like I'm overusing it. And I think that's not a good thing. We all have brains. We all can think on our own, but being such rely on these tools is going to be scary in the future. Let's see. ChatGPT, I'm gonna say that. Okay, good. I checked myself. It is a new thesaurus. I use it as a thesaurus too. I must say that. Um, I forget about it and then I until I get really stuck. That is perfect. Honestly, I think that's like the best way to use it. It should be more like a thought partner, not the all everything. I use it for research and writing letters of recommendation. Yes, letters of recommendation. Definitely, definitely, definitely for that. ChatGPT gives up sometimes, why I use Gemini or Magic School AI. Yeah, I could see that as well. So just, making sure checking yourself, checking in with yourself, like, hey, I don't always have to go to a tool. Like I can think. We were thinking before these tools came out. We can still do that. And summarizing big amount of text. I love that. Perfect, perfect. All right. Sharissa, I'm gonna have you introduce this really quick.
Yeah, so we have this great video of Dr. Sonal Patel, who's actually on the call right now. So hey, Sonal, I know you're there, but it's just like a little short snippet of her first ever RED talk from University of Redlands. She said she didn't see it coming. It's something that we shared with different folks though, and just talking about algorithmic bias and what that looks like. And I will tell you, I think this talk brought to light a lot of points that people haven't thought about, even still, as we use AI. And so let's go ahead and play it. And it's just a little quick 2 minutes. If you want the rest,
in the pre-algorithmic world, humans and organizations were responsible for decision making around university admissions, recruitment, advertising, healthcare, education, and more, governed by legal systems and regulated by decision-making processes around fairness, equity, and transparency. Today, our machines unfortunately don't have the same sense of same transparency and accountability. with very few legal systems. So these problems are real. There's so many implicit biases within these algorithms that are being created today. So I'm going to pause for a moment and talk to you about the Amazon robot. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the robot that was used for recruitment purposes. This robot was literally going through 10 years of historical data associated with the people that worked at Amazon previously in order to find the next and future Amazon engineers. The problem was the engineers were mostly white and male, and so in order to diversify the workforce of Amazon, there was very little chance, because what those algorithms were doing were going through each of the resumes built into a computing system and eliminating words such as women's colleges, women's groups, and so on. Amazon later retracted that robot. We are feeding our technologies with mounds and mounds of macro and micro data. They continue to do the thinking for us as we continue to feed it more and more data.
Okay, so just a little snippet. I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat right now to the video in case you want to see more and hear more. There are other speakers on there as well, but Dr. Patel's talk is just on point. I wish I could have been there in person watching. So in thinking about what you've just heard since the start of this whole conversation, I want you to think about something, and feel free to respond to this as well. But how might algorithmic bias impact the ways in which we use AI and the outcomes that are generated when we prompt engineer? So we've already had a little taste of it in today's session. Those of you who have been playing around with AI, which is a huge chunk of this group, at least on the Zoom call, what are your thoughts? And if it's something that you want to kind of like think on a little bit more, that's fine. If you have an answer now, please feel free to share.
A couple of months ago, I was in a similar meeting to this, and one of the participants brought up the issue of 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 Native American and specifically issues having to do with AI, because their histories are almost unrepresented online, and they are very context specific and very spiritually valuable to their groups. And basically, they can't rely on the big 6 or 7 companies to support their needs and their desires to preserve themselves in this AI environment. And they really need to own the process, both figuratively and in terms of hardware and infrastructure, to really make this world work for them. So that's something that doesn't get discussed a lot. And yeah, a big light bulb went on over my head when this person started talking.
Thank you, Mark. While you were speaking, it made me think of also like the Native Hawaiians and how this may impact them as well.
All indigenous populations,
All
really,
indigenous, yes,
right?
absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? And I do see in the chat, while we're waiting for, in case anybody else wants to come off mute, Kat says that it's caused her to specifically ask for diverse perspectives and broad representation. And then also we have Gabriella, who says certain groups will be left out, which, yes, definitely, that's a sad reality. Scott.
I heard a podcast from the Center for Humane Technology, and they were talking about how certain countries, most AI is in English, and then of course there's Chinese, but they're talking about I think someone was from the country of Georgia saying, okay, we're getting AI, but what's interesting is that it's going to be a translation of English. So even though the data will be a translation from English to Georgian in this case, the perspectives, it'll be American data, American perspectives,
Right.
even when these things get translated to other countries and this spread. So I thought that was interesting, something I hadn't thought about before.
Thank you. That's a really good point. And it makes me think about other things, at least in our whole educational system, that have been similar to that, even in textbooks, right? Just the lack of multiple perspectives. NJ, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize for not being on camera. I want to just follow up briefly on the comment in the chat, certain groups being left out. So that is also my concern. So for the sake of the topic today, I'm going to focus only in education because we can also go into law enforcement and we know that there are some issues there. But so the thing when it comes to our current materials, I think that there is a consensus in the fact that there is still a lack of representation when it comes to what, the content that we're able to share with our students, and also the fact that there are quite a large number of contribution from different I want to say educators, scientists who happen not to be white, but who are not included either in the textbooks or in curriculums in various spaces. So my concern with AI, given that we know that there is an algorithm bias that people are still working on, is that that's not going to be represented in the sources. So when we're using AI to make sure that we're tapping into as many relevant sources as possible. And then also, again, back to if we are, trying to build lesson plans and so on. So how do we make sure that, again, the bias is eliminated from that? Like, I think I want to end with, I'm wondering if there is a way to build an bias check, basically, in AI systematically. So I don't know if you have an answer.
I actually don't have an answer to that. Tanya, do you have one?
I mean, I think there just needs to be accountability. I think right now, everyone's building and building and building, but there's no checks and balances with any of these tools. And until we have something to actually like check off, like if they're doing this or if they're doing that, we're gonna have the wild, wild west in AI. So I don't really necessarily have an answer, but I know what we should do, but how to do that, I am just not sure.
Yeah, same.
Mhm.
Thank you, though. Very, very good question. Catherine, I see that you came off of mute. Do you want to chime in?
Um, yes, do I was at a professional development on the 10th, and there's two presenters who talked about AI, and they gave a good example of how bias can be impacted. And they said there was a woman who was known for giving out candy. So she decided she's going to have like a gumball machine, give out the candy based on anyone who comes to the door with a costume. But the costume was based on how she described having a costume. So with a cape, or a hat or something. So it's all about what the person puts in is what they're going to get out. So if it's, like I said, if it's the comic book characters, Superman, Batman, whatever, those are the only kids who got candy versus those who could have came as Raggedy Ann Andy doll or something like that. So it's just reinforcing how the bias is going to impact the recipients of whatever the intended goods or services are.
Thank you for sharing. That's very interesting. And it just reminds me of the fact that what if she had more people in the background helping her develop what costumes look like? Because I know for my own child, she goes around as a scientist for Halloween. So, maybe wearing a white lab coat with her goggles, maybe that doesn't look like a costume. That's very interesting.
Mhm.
Yes.
And Teresa, I don't know if I didn't share this and I don't have the actual link, but on 60 Minutes a few months back shared this piece on how AI is collecting all their data around the world. And it's very interesting. Some of it is honestly unethical on how they're collecting data. And if you do a search on YouTube, just type in 60 Minutes AI data collection, and how one there a lot of companies are taking advantage of certain countries in this data collection, and the way they're collecting it is so unethical. It makes you not want to even use an AI tool. But I don't have the link. I just was thinking of it as we were talking about this. But there's so many angles that need to be governed in AI development. So that's my whole little take on that.
Tanya, I want to push back just a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because terms of service have always taken advantage of the fact that nobody reads them.
Right.
Lawyers ask for everything and know that nobody is even going to know that they're giving it up. And that's
Mhm.
been going on for decades. This is not new to AI. It's universal when it comes to tech companies.
And that is true, Mark. But guess what? We have actually tools to break down this language now. So,
Now we
like,
can read it.
even, yeah, we can actually read all this mumble jumble that's going on in some of the, like, the terms of agreement. So, we need to take advantage of that and
Yep.
actually do it. I think we're so used to, like, just glossing through it because it's so dense. We just kind of ignore it. But we actually can go and simplify a lot of that language to understand what's going on now. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
turn it into a podcast and notebook.
Exactly, Mark. I'm all about that notebook. I just want to let you know. I do love that. All right. So I have a couple of scenarios I would love for you to take part of. And in the chat, if you could give me your best response, like A, B, C, or D, and we'll just have a quick discussion about it. So the first scenario is a company implements an AI-driven hiring tool to filter candidates for software engineering positions. The AI has been trained on past hiring data, which predominantly features male candidates. After a few months, the company notices that most of the shortlisted candidates are men. What is the most likely reason for this outcome? Is it A, the AI system has a technical glitch? B, the AI system is biased because it was trained on historical hiring data? C, male candidates are inherently better at software engineering? Or is it D, the AI has no role in the hiring process? What do you think about that? And just put your answer in the chat. Let me see what we got. We have a lot of B's. We got all mostly B's. Yeah. I I see a D. Very good. Okay. All right. So if I was to select an answer on this one, it would definitely be B. AI systems learn from historical patterns. The AI is going to adopt and it's going to reinforce that trend in their system. So this is going to be biased and exclude female candidates, candidates that are actually probably more qualified for the position because it is trained on that historical data. So um, this is sad, but this is actually what happens a lot of times when AI is being used in like hiring practices. Okay, I have another scenario. This is more school related. A school district adopts an AI driven platform that recommends personalized learning resources for students based on their past performances. Teachers notice that students from lower income backgrounds are consistently recommended for remedial content, while students from wealthier schools receive more advanced learning materials. What is the primary issue with the AI's recommendation? Is it A, the AI is making appropriate suggestions based on performance data? B, the AI is reinforcing existing achievement gaps by limiting learning opportunities for certain students? C, the AI system is broken and properly not working? Or D, the AI's recommendations are completely random? What do you think that might be?
I'm sensing a pattern here.
I know it's B. Don't ask me why it's B again. I didn't intentionally design that like that. But it is B. Thank you, Mark, for that. Basically, some of the results are bias in decision making. Based,
That's a good one. Omar.
uh,
I mean,
Omar.
no, where was it?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Omar
Omar.
is saying B and C. Yeah, I could see it not working as well, Omar. I agree with that. And B, it's basically reinforcing these achievement gaps and limiting like learning potentials for certain groups of students. And we see that all the times in school. Like certain groups are getting like this higher content while other groups are getting the remedial content and not growing in their skills. This is a problem. And this happens even outside of the AI systems that and it's being reinforced in AI systems. So Um, I would definitely say a combination of B and C. It is broken, definitely broken if it's giving you these type of results. All right, my last scenario I will let you take part in. A school implements an AI system to grade student essays. Teachers notice that students who use more complex vocabulary are receiving higher scores, even if their ideas and arguments are weaker. Meanwhile, the multilingual learners and students with different writing styles receive lower scores. What is the biggest concern with the AI grading system? Is it AI is broken, it needs to be replaced? That could be also be. B, the AI grading model favors certain linguistic patterns, leading to unfair scoring. C, the AI ensures consistency and fairness in grading. Or D, the AI cannot grade essays effectively. Okay, so I see a lot of combination on this one, and I would definitely say yes. It could be B, it could be D, it could also be A. Almost all of these could almost fit into this category. A lot of times, especially if you're a second language learner, your language style may not meet the criteria of an effective essay versus like someone else with a higher vocabulary. Even though your essay is good quality, it may not sound like it just because you're a second language learner. So yeah, it's Omar said BAD, bad. Very good. You put that all together. Omar, look at you. You know, you're pretty smart there, Omar. But yes, definitely B, A could fit in that, and also D. But these are all issues that we need to be aware when utilizing these AI systems. They're not treated equally, they're not all fair, and we need to question them and make sure we don't like take everything they say at word. So when we are using some of these AI tools, it's very important for us to like think about these key questions. So what is the source data being used in these AI systems? How has it undergone like an audit? You know, who's actually checking these audits? What are the terms of service? We talked about that earlier. How does AI tools handle user data? Like, where's your data going? Does this AI align with ethical guidelines and compliance standards? Like, who's actually like looking at this? What potential biases exist in these AI systems? Who is accountable for all the AI decisions and the mistakes that's going on in these systems? How frequently is the AI being updated and improved? Like, is it just being developed and then no one's touching it after that? What are the limitations of these AI tools? And how to report errors or harmful outcomes? Like, have you guys ever reported something that's wrong with any of these AI tools and they've actually gone and fixed them? Is there any accountability? I think these are all questions that we need to raise to these companies so they can start making these tools equitable and have ethical considerations when developing and also training the data that's being used for these tools. And Teresa, I'm going to let you do this one right here.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. So in thinking about all of this and just what it means to have equity-minded instruction in the age of AI, I'm curious to know what this means to you. Like, what does equity-minded instruction in the age of AI look like? What does it sound like? And how might it feel? I do have a Padlet. If you're able to play along, I just dropped a link in the chat. Please feel free to. If not, feel free to unmute and share. Yeah, I'm just curious as to what your thoughts might be. So what does it look like? What does it sound like? I see some people kind of populating into the Padlet here. So I'll give it maybe a couple minutes for you to respond. And again, feel free to respond in the chat. I can pull your responses and drop them in the Padlet if you want. And if you are on the road or something and you want to unmute, if you can do so safely, then that might be an option as well.
Feel free to unmute.
I'll unmute. It'll be easier for me to answer live. Struggling with tablet right now. I so for me, there are two keywords in the question that you ask, and they are equity and instruction. And when it comes to the conversation around AI and AI developers and so on, I have mostly heard about what do I the engineers doing the work. So my concern is that I would love to see more public conversations and forums, regarding the use of AI, regarding things that we should be aware of, letting our communities know that this isn't a campaign against it, but that we do need to collectively think about how we want to use it, how we want to move forward. And then something that I think is less and less visible in our national landscape is just to talk about ethics. What is an ethical use of it? And so the reason I mentioned those two words, equity and instruction, is because I think that there needs to be some transparency regarding, whether it's ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or any other companies working on AI, Google in this instance, they need to let us know that they are also working with educators. They need to let us know that they are also working with equity experts, right? Even though the government is now anti-DEI and so on, but equity is still something that is very much needed for fairness. And so that would be, I would love, to see equity-minded instruction embedded in how educators are empowered to use AI. I think it's a fantastic tool. I think that paired with the efforts of our elected officials to, when it comes to internet, broadband in areas that have been historically underserved and so on, that really could be a game changer for many youth. Another thing, and I'm gonna shut up soon. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had so much to say about that. I think something I've been reflecting about with other educators, I was an ethnic studies consultant for my school district here, working with my county office of education, is, what does that mean when it comes to homework, when it comes to how we are encouraging students to share what they're learning in the class. So far, the system has been mainly, either a digital piece of paper or something, and then they have to fill in the answers or type an essay or something along those lines. But are we going at some point to move into a format where they can do an assignment by, turning in a video, they can do an assignment in a way that is very creative and where we understand they have the help of AI, but AI is only as good as the input that you give it. So how were they able to make the best use of it? And if we're able to see that and, and so on, because I think that will also inform the critical thinking, the thought pattern. So I just, those are question marks. I don't have an answer. And I hope I was clear enough.
I think you were, and I try to capture most of what you're saying and all of what you're saying, not as fast as ChatGPT. But I did put it in the Padlet, so I'm adding in your thoughts there. I think what you shared is so important in all aspects, like how we need to inform more folks about the use of AI, how we use it, where our ethics seen in, the inputs and outputs of AI, and then also with students demonstrating their understanding, if they're using these types of tools, what are they doing? How do we make it so that there's more critical thinking involved? And, they're really prompting for exactly what they need. Do they know how to do that? Will they find what they need? And if they don't, where do they go next? So thank you so much, NJ. I see a couple of other things before I read off one or two. Does anybody else? Oh, Mark, I see you. Maybe you want to. Oh, you were already unmuted. Sorry. I was like, maybe he turned off. Okay. Nobody else?
I'm at a quiet room, so I don't need mute.
Oh, okay, perfect. I, on the other hand, if you hear a child, I have a coworker who just turned 5 who keeps saying, "Is your meeting over?" So just so you know, if you hear that, I apologize. But I also see here teaching students how to use it as a tool, but not as a replacement for their own thinking. I am able to find information in the language I need with accurate representations of images, and I feel empowered when I search and design because it gives me and others what we need and shows me or anyone in a positive way. It allows me to give feedback when something isn't accurate or biased, and it makes necessary changes. And then this also says, oh, there's one. It reminds me of when Wikipedia first came out. That is interesting thought. We had to teach students to be discerning consumers. Yes. And then all students have access to the necessary devices and internet connectivity. It includes assistive AI technologies for students with disabilities, ensuring that they have equal learning opportunities. It can make students feel empowered by providing them with personalized learning experiences and access to powerful tools. It promotes an awareness of the digital world and the way that information is processed and created. So I'm hearing a little bit on both sides, which is really nice. It's nice to see, the goods and the bads and the ugly of it too. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, no, I'd say that if we're doing it right pre-AI, it should just roll right in. I mean, if we're equity minded uh, in our basic education, then it should be equity minded in any AI education. We shouldn't even have to think twice about it. That's sort of a uh, wishful thinking in most cases, but I know my school does make some efforts along those lines and has been for a long time. So I, that's what I'm sort of wishfully thinking.
I like that. And I think I have that same wishful thought that you do, is just that we're already doing the work. How do we continue it? It's kind of embedded in what we do already now. So how do we keep going with this and make sure that we're having the right impact on students?
Somebody, I work in a Title I school in Silicon Valley, and somebody pointed out to me, I said, Mark, how many white students do you think we have here? And I had to think about it because honestly, I'm surrounded by so many people who don't look like me on a constant basis. It doesn't even occur to me that there are very few white people here. It's probably about 10%, something like that.
It's really interesting, right? When it's pointed out, you're just like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, you don't typically think of it when you're just working with people either,
You know,
you
I
know.
hate that phrase where people say I'm colorblind because that's just bullshit. But in that very narrow sense, I guess I was in a good way.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, for
I, I'm
sure.
I'm virtue signaling like crazy here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? And thank you for playing along in the palette for those of you who were able to and wanted to. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Oh, Angie, I see your hand.
Just one last thing I wanted to share because I think it's very important. So we all know when there is new technology out, we don't really have guidelines and so on. There's no legislation around it because it's new. And I'm bringing that up because we are all aware of the impact that platforms like Instagram has had on the development of our youth, teenagers, and their, mental wellness and so on. So I'm just pointing that again when it comes to AI in the classroom. There is an instance of, student who ended up, and unfortunately, ending its own life because of the conversation he was having AI and so on. So I think for me, in the back of my mind, there's a bit of a question of, are they like safe rails? Because for now, it's a technology when students have access to it. Is there a way to ensure that it's not going to be used outside of the healthy boundaries? So that's all I wanted to share.
Yeah, very, very interesting point and something that we should all be considering as we navigate this. And I think that works along with other things, like all the socials, that our kids are on and others. So thank you for bringing up that point. Tanya, do you want me to take this or you? Oh, you're on mute. Bye. Got it.
Okay, go ahead and I'll put the links in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So we just wanted to share a few resources with you. So KPOR Center's culturally responsive, sustainable, or sustaining computer science framework. That's one thing that we like to use and just refer to as we're thinking through the process. Like it was mentioned earlier, this whole thought of being equity minded is embedded in a lot of the work that most of us are doing. And I would say that this framework can be used in other areas, not just in CS, but it's a great way to just kind of see the connections. Also, we have Day of AI on here, Common Sense AI literacy lessons. So Common Sense Media has actual AI literacy lessons that they've been coming up with and working on more recently. And then also Digital Promises AI literacy. So Tanya just dropped all those links in the chat. Please feel free to check them out and know that those resources do exist.
And just know it's important for not only that we understand how to use these tools, but understand how AI works. It's important for students, it's important for administrators, teachers to understand how AI works so they can do a better job of actually understanding how equity takes a part in all of this. So definitely take a look at these resources. And if you would love to continue this conversation, I have this great opportunity for you. During CSPD week, we have tons of computer science PDs that are taking place June 23rd to 27th. This is going to be for any educator in the state of California. And we're going to be at the Anaheim Marriott. If you actually sign up and you get accepted, they will pay for your stay at the Anaheim Marriott, as well as give you a stipend for attending. During this session, I will be facilitating along with some colleagues an EMIC session. It's called Equity Minded in Computer Science. And if you come, we're going to continue this conversation and how we can bring personalized learning, student identity into computer science, making sure students are seen in this field. So if you're interested, there is a link here for you to sign up on the interest form. Please feel free to sign up. It should be opening pretty soon. Spaces will fill up, but this is a great opportunity to continue the learning about equity and how it affects AI and computer science. But thank you for listening to us. You guys were great. Does anyone have any questions for us? This is the time. We're here. And thank you for putting the interest forum in the chat, Sharissa.
I want to thank
Okay.
both you and both Tanya and Sharissa for such I think there were a lot of questions and comments that came in the chat and came as people unmuted, which was fantastic. And so thank you for all of these thought-provoking comments, so to speak. Really appreciate that. As far as Gabriella's asking if there's links to the previous resources, but I think they're linked on the slides. Is that correct, Tanya? Because I'll be sending.
They are linked on the slides, yes.
Perfect. So just so everyone knows, actually, as you'll see on this slide here, all registrants are going to be sent an email with links to the CDE AI resources, a link to this presentation, which has those resources you were asking about, and an opportunity to provide input for SB 1288. So we know here at California Department of Education that these are these emerging technologies, this is something that we want to engage educators in conversations about as we are looking towards guidance for districts and for educators. And so Senate Bill 1288 calls for CDE to convene a work group to expand the guidance and to create a model policy. And so we certainly want to ensure that there is lots of opportunity for all of you to provide input. So there's a survey there. And then applications for that work group will be out soon. So keep an eye on that. Want to let you know also, these February offerings were fantastic. They really focused on equity and the learning about AI piece and really making sure that we have that computer science lens and work to actively increase underrepresented populations in the building of these systems and with computer science. Next month in March, we have some fantastic offerings as well. As always, there will be featured speakers, actionable resources, and learner-focused content. next week there's is making AI visible, building awareness. That's building awareness amongst educators at a school site, but also building awareness of how AI can support a community, particularly through translation tools and working with different languages and needs in that way. So would love to have you join us for that. I will be sending emails with all of its information. And AI literacy is something that Tanya and Sharisa brought up. And so that is another one of our topics as well. Oh, and Day of AI. We are going to actually have a session on the Day of AI as well. So excited to see all of you there. Thank you so much for everyone that is here. I so appreciate your thoughts, your comments, your questions, and absolutely appreciate Tanya and Sharisa and all of the CSTA Equity Fellows that were featured in this month's webinars.